attacked and killed close to 10 innocent civilians. As the shocking details emerged, it became apparent that the majority of the victims were immigrant settlers from La République du Cameroon. News of the horrific incident sparked an outpouring of outrage and indignation from the Cameroon elite, the clergy, and politicians. They were united in their condemnation of the perpetrators who had taken these innocent lives. The air was thick with grief, and the collective conscience of the populace demanded justice for the 10. High and low masses were conducted across the nation, even reaching the colonial capital city in Yaoundé. Bamenda Metropolitan Archbishop Andrew Ike, for the first time, since this conflict escalated, traveled to the scene of the tragedy, laid a reed, and offered prayers of solace to the affected families. I mean, the level of outrage displayed by the elite and the wider Francophone population at the Bamenda Nacho incident was unprecedented. That is to say that the tragedy at Nacho Junction had struck a nerve. It was a moment when anti-independentists came together, recognizing the value and sanctity of every human life, so to say. The question that now lingers is, where is the same level of outrage when another tragedy, a massacre of greater proportion, strikes in Mamfe? Where is the outrage? Where is the outpouring of the same level of indignation and patronage? Could it be that it is not necessary or was not necessary? Because unlike the Nacho Junction incident, the victims here are Anglophones, whose lives, of course, do not matter as those of Francophones. Could that be the case? I think so. On November 6th, a horrifying incident unfolded in Mamfe, where over 40 civilians were brutally killed in their sleep. Some were burnt alive, their lives extinguished in an act of unimaginable cruelty. The victims in Mamfe were predominantly Anglophones, as they call it, predominantly Anglophones. Despite the shocking loss of these innocent lives, the outrage and condemnation that had poured out for victims of the Bamenda Nacho incident seemed to be completely absent. Archbishop Inke did not rush to Mamfe, his former parish, to console with the families. And neither was the type of indignation witnessed at the Nacho incident from Anglophone, so-called Anglophone and Francophone elite. No, it didn't happen in Mamfe. This stark contrast in reactions should remind those among us in Ambazonia who still think that Francophones are our brothers, and those who continue to live in the illusion of a one Cameroon. They should be reminded that Anglophone lives do not matter. Francophones will forever be treated better than us if you think that we can still live together. If anything to take home from these two incidents, it is that the disparity in outrage between the two incidents at Nacho Junction and Mamfe indicates that Francophone lives matter more than Anglophone lives. The historic and systematic bias that fails to recognize the equal worth of all citizens remains ingrained in the fabric of the country's ruling class and Amazonians remain the victims here. This lack of widespread indignation and condemnation from La République du Cameroun elite and the churches, the clergy, ladies and gentlemen, following the Mamfe incident cannot be ignored. It cannot. It is a painful reminder of the nothingness that we are made to be in that country. The absence of a united front against such heinous acts in Mamfe by the same people who united against the Nacho junction incident sends a distressing message about the value placed on amber lives in that country. The role of the media and influential figures in shaping public opinion cannot be underestimated. However, they cannot be seen to be picking and choosing which lives are more important. It is imperative for them to use their platform to highlight the atrocities committed in Mamfe and demand justice for the victims. By shining a spotlight on the issue and exposing the stark contrast in reactions, they can raise awareness and foster a sense of collective responsibility. The international community also has a role to play in promoting justice in this situation. Human rights organizations, regional bodies, and foreign governments should use their influence to exert pressure on the Cameroonian government to address these killings of civilians once and for all. It has happened so many times. The absence of widespread condemnation and outrage following the Mamfe incident should not be interpreted as an affirmation of the belief that Francophone lives matter more than Anglophone lives, as they call it. It is rather a reflection of the deep-seated irreconcilable divisions and systematic biases that still exist between the two peoples. The reason why we are at war and separating for good. The reason why we can never again live together. The reason why we say one and indivisible Cameroon is history. It is gone for good. In the end, it is not a question of whether Francophone lives matter more than Anglophone lives or vice versa. It is a matter of recognizing the inherent value and dignity of human life, regardless of linguistic or ethnic background. It is about acknowledging that the loss of any innocent life, be it at Nacho Junction or in Mamfe, is a tragedy that should evoke the same level of outrage and condemnation from everyone, every conscientious person. Ultimately, the absence of equal outrage following the Mamfe incident should serve as a wake-up call for all Amazonians. It should ignite a collective introspection to our struggle and a renewed commitment to resist La République du Cameroun till we get our independence. One possible explanation could be the influence of media coverage. The Bamenda incident received significant attention and coverage, which helped fuel public outrage. In contrast, the Mamfe incident may have received less media coverage, resulting in a lower level of public awareness and response. It is crucial for media outlets to prioritize balanced reporting and ensure that all acts of violence are given equal attention, regardless of the linguistic or ethnic backgrounds of the victims. Another factor to consider is the historical context of the conflict in Ambazonia, between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. The linguistic and ethnic tensions have deep roots that have caused divisions and grievances over time. These divisions can shape public perceptions and responses to incidents, leading to biases and unequal reactions. Overcoming these divisions requires a concerted effort to address the underlying issues. And to move forward, Cameroon, not Ambazonians, Cameroon needs a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of the current conflict, which means initiating genuine dialogue and negotiations or a United Nations supervised referendum. This requires sustained efforts from all stakeholders too, including the civil society organizations, religious leaders, and the international community. Religious leaders have a significant role to play in fostering justice and promoting the sanctity of every life, not some lives, but every life. They can use their moral authority to condemn violence of all types and advocate for justice by emphasizing the shared values of compassion and respect for human dignity. Religious leaders can inspire their followers to reject injustice and embrace freedom and liberty.